Are you Light's Justice? Do you want to protect your friends with a massive shield? Would you like to have wings? Well then Paladin might be the job for you. Hello there, my name is Julia, and in this video I'll be covering the recently reworked Paladin job at level 90. One disclaimer though, this video is not a guide on how to tank, but rather a guide on how to play Paladin itself. Inside a raid party there are 3 jobs: DPS, Healer and Tank. Alongside Warrior, Gunbreaker and Dark Knight, Paladin takes up the tank role in the party. The tank role focuses on maintaining enmity from the boss, in turn soaking up its auto attacks and heavy hitting raid buster mechanics. Alongside this, tanks are responsible for positioning the boss in such a way that allows the party to have DPS uptime, and in such a way that allows the melee DPS to have easy access to the rear and flank sides of the boss to perform their positional abilities. As Paladin, you combine magical spells, your sword and your shield to become a powerful supportive tank, bringing in heavy mitigation abilities and a ranged DPS phase in its rotation. The Paladin gauge is relatively small. It is a singular gauge that fills up whenever you hit a target with an auto attack. It also lights up whenever you have Iron Will activated, which increases the enmity you generate from hitting your abilities and spells. The gauge fills up from these auto attacks with Oath, which can be spent on powerful mitigation abilities. Paladins auto attack once every 2.3 seconds and thus gain enough Oath for a single ability every 23 seconds. Since Paladin is a tank, it has access to a lot of non-DPS related actions. I will cover those later, as I first want to talk about the DPS abilities and rotation. Paladin's rotation is static and revolves around creating procs for use inside a damage increase buff every 60 seconds. You gain access to a 1-2-3 combo. This 1-2-3 combo starts with Fast Blade, combos into Riot Blade, which restores some of your mana, and it ends on Royal Authority, which grants you 3 stacks of Sword Oath and a buff called Divine Might. Sword Oath can be spent on an action called Atonement, which deals moderate damage and restores some mana points. Divine Might has effect on Holy Spirit and Holy Circle, which we will cover later. In AoE scenarios, your 1-2-3 combo is replaced by a 1-2 combo of Total Eclipse and Prominence. Prominence also grants you Divine Might. Aside from these combo GCDs, Paladin has access to a few more non-combo GCDs. The first is Shield Bash. This smacks your shield at a target, dealing low damage and stunning them if the target is stunnable. This is more of a utility spell and you won't actually see it used inside of your rotation. Shield Lob throws your shield at a target from a range. This is your ranged ability, although another action will be preferred to maintain uptime, which we will cover later. Goring Blade has a cooldown of 60 seconds and simply does a large chunk of damage. Paladin also has access to some spells. The first is Holy Spirit. After a short 1.5 second cast, you deal some damage to the target. The spell can be cast from a range and should be your main way of maintaining uptime if you're disconnected from the boss. Only use Shield Lob if you're ever out of mana. Holy Circle is the AoE version of Holy Spirit. Both of these spells have increased damage and no cast time if under the effect of Divine Might, given by your combo finishers. Their damage is also increased by Requiescat, which we will cover later. The last spell Paladins have is Confiteor. This does a decent chunk of damage, which is also increased by Requiescat. The spell additionally restores some of your HP and can only be cast if under the effect of Confiteor ready. After using Confiteor, you gain access to an upgraded 1-2-3 combo: Blade of Faith, Blade of Truth and Blade of Valor. Each of these does high damage to a single target and some additional damage to any enemies nearby them. It also restores some of your HP on use. The damage is increased if you have Requiescat stacks to use. Confiteor Ready is granted by Requiescat, an OGCD ability that does moderate damage on use and grants you 4 stacks of Requiescat. Each stack increases Holy Spirit, Holy Circles, the upgraded 1-2-3 combo and Confiteor's damage and makes it so that the spells have no cast time. Use these stacks on Confiteor and the upgraded 1-2-3 combo. Fight or Flight is your personal damage buff. It is a 1-minute cooldown and it increases all of your damage dealt by 25% for 20 seconds. Circle of Scorn is an OGCD that deals damage in an AoE around you. It also applies a damage over time debuff to any enemy hit. Intervene is your gap closer. It has a 30-second cooldown and can store up 2 charges. Generally, save these for usage inside of your fight or flight buff window. However, if using one grants you an extra GCD usage throughout the fight by minimizing downtime, then feel free to use it outside of fight or flight. Lastly, Expiation deals damage to a target and all nearby enemies on a 30-second cooldown. It also restores some of your mana points. The Paladin rotation is fairly simple. Currently there are 2 rotations floating around. The first is a 60-second rotation, which is slightly easier to learn, and the second is a 120-second rotation, which does the same DPS, but is a little bit more flexible by letting you move your ranged GCD filler actions around more freely in your filler. Because of this, we will be covering the 120-second rotation. The opener goes like this. If you are the tank that is pulling, enable Iron Will. Precast Holy Spirit 2 seconds before pulling. Start your 1-2-3 combo with Fast Blade. If using a tincture, drink it here. Continue the 1-2-3 combo with Riot Blade and weave in Fight or Flight. Finish your 1-2-3 combo with Royal Authority and weave in Circle of Scorn late. Cast 1 Holy Spirit and weave in Expiation and intervene. Use Goring Blade and weave in Requisite and your second intervene. Use Convivier and your upgraded 1-2-3 combo of Blade of Faith, Blade of Truth and Blade of Valor. Spend your Sword of Oath stacks on 3 atonements and cast 3 more Holy Spirits. After this, you want to use 1 more 1-2-3 combo, 3 more atonements and a Holy Spirit. This sets us up for the rotation loop. Here's an example of the opener being done. The rotation loop alternates between odd and even minute burst by using some predetermined filler. This filler can be different for fights with downtime, but in a full uptime boss, the rotation loop is like so. Coming out of your opener, you instantly enter the odd minute burst. Use 1 more 1-2-3 combo and then spend your first atonement, weaving in Fight or Flight. Cast Holy Spirit and weave in Circle of Scorn. Use your second atonement and weave in Expiation and intervene. Use your Goring Blade, weave in Requisite and intervene. Cast Convivier and the upgraded 1-2-3 combo of Blade of Faith, Blade of Truth and Blade of Valor. End the odd minute burst with your last atonement. Here's an example of the odd minute burst being done. Coming out of this burst, use the odd minute filler. During this filler, it's important to keep Circle of Scorn and Expiation on cooldown. It's also worth noting that the placement of the hard-casted Holy Spirits are flexible and can be used anywhere in the filler. For example, a place where you have to disconnect from the boss. The odd minute filler starts with Holy Spirit, a 1-2-3 combo with atonements and an instant cast Holy Spirit, and another 1-2-3 combo with atonements. Do not spend the Holy Spirit of the second 1-2-3 combo just yet, because we are about to enter the even minute burst. Here's an example of the odd minute filler being done. The even minute burst starts with Fast Blade and Riot Blade. Weave in Fight or Flight and use the Holy Spirit from before. Weave in Circle of Scorn and end the 1-2-3 combo with Royal Authority. Weave in Expiation and Intervene and use your Goring Blade. Weave in Requisite and your second Intervene. Then spend your stacks on Convivier and the upgraded 1-2-3 combo of Blade of Faith, Blade of Truth and Blade of Valor. Finally, use one more Holy Spirit. This ends your even minute burst and has you enter the even minute filler. Here's an example of the even minute burst being done. Again, the placements of hard-casted Holy Spirits is flexible and can be moved around freely for use during moments where you are disconnected from the boss. Don't forget to also keep your Circle of Scorn and Expiation on cooldown. The filler starts by spending your 3 leftover atonements from the even minute burst. Then cast Holy Spirit twice and use 1-1-2-3 combo with its atonements and the Holy Spirit instant cast. Here's an example of the even minute filler being done. At the end of this filler, you start the rotation loop again by performing the odd minute burst. Paladin naturally brings a truckload of mitigation options, as all tanks do. Paladin is also the only tank with a shield and therefore gains the ability to block damage. Blocking has a 30% chance to reduce the damage taken from anything by 20%. This chance can be increased by using other abilities. Iron Will is your tank stance. Turning this on greatly increases the enmity you generate with your attacks, allowing you to hold aggro of whatever you're attacking. Paladin also has access to the following personal mitigation abilities. Rampart, which reduces all your damage taken by 20%. Sentinel, which reduces all damage taken by 30%. Holy Sheltron, which reduces the damage taken by 15% for 8 seconds and also by 15% for 4 seconds. Because of how we add percentages, this means that for the first 4 seconds, this effectively is 28% damage reduction. It also gradually restores your HP over the course of 12 seconds and costs 50 overgauge to use. Clemency, a highly potent short cast heal, which can be instant cast by using Requisite charges. If this ability is used on a party member, the Paladin is also healed for 50%. This ability is great for helping your party recover from mistakes. Hallowed Ground is your invulnerability. Using this makes you invulnerable to taking any damage for the next 10 seconds. Reprisal applies a debuff to all enemies around you that decreases their damage done by 10%. Lastly, as per patch 6.3, you have a new mitigation ability called Bulwark, which raises your shield and makes you block all incoming attacks for 10 seconds. Alongside these abilities, Paladin gain access to 2 raid-wide mitigations. Passage of Arms is a channeled ability which increases your block rate to 100% and creates a cone behind you in which party members take 15% reduced damage. You are able to flash this ability and instantly interrupt it to continue rotation. Doing this will grant the buff to the party for 5 seconds. This ability is mostly used for mitigation on your raid and not for personal mitigation. The Divine Veil grants a barrier to everyone around you, equal to 10% of your maximum HP for 30 seconds. It also heals everyone hit for 400 cure potency. Alongside all of these abilities, Paladin also has access to the tank role actions. Shirk sends 25% of your current enmity to the targeted party member. This ability is used for tank swapping the main enmity of a target. For ease of use, a lot of tanks use a macro to do this without targeting their off tank. It is worth noting that macros cannot be action queued, and thus you might have to spam press the button. Provoke instantly generates a large amount of enmity. You can use this in combination with Shirk to ensure an enmity swap with your co-tank. The amount of enmity generated from Provoke is affected by tank stance. Low Blow stuns a single target. Interject interrupts a target's cast or action, and Arm's Length is your knockback immunity. This ability can also serve a second purpose. By using it during thrash pulls in dungeons, you can slow the auto attack speed of anyone attacking you by 20%, reducing the damage you take from them. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful or entertaining, then please consider subscribing for more Final Fantasy XIV content and guides.